Tony D and Little Joan in the background, and this is your Screenwriter's Rant on Amber Alert, a thriller about a little girl gets kidnapped and two random people who happen to see her in traffic. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy Heart in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 15, available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. So it's two strangers, an Uber driver and his passenger, and they get an Amber Alert. The driver is a dad. He has a 5-year-old, so he's got a vested interest, kind of. PG-13, by the way. It's a bit intense for PG-13, I'll say, but... And they spot her in traffic. They spot the car. They get the Amber Alert. They spot the car. And they call the cops, but of course the cops are too far away. They're in a, I don't know, they're in some area. So they start following him. He sees them. There's a bit of a chase. They, of course, end up in a place with a weak signal, and the cops are a half-hour away trying to find him. And for some reason, they can't catch up to him. You know, the cops could be everywhere. If all these people had to do was say, "Oh, I think these people were January 6th." There would have been FBI guys everywhere. But they end up following the kidnapper, I'll say, and I think he's a killer too, to a house, and there's all sorts of bizarre stuff, and they go in to save the girl because nobody else can. And then, you know, it's a cat and mouse game coming soon. This looks pretty intense. I gotta say, I want to see this. This looks good. Because I like the setup a lot. Because it's just two random people who just happen to see, they just happen to be on a drive. He just happens to see the Amber Alert. And she notices the car. And they have a vested interest. Well, I mean, he does because he has a kid. I don't think she does. I think she's just concerned. But I think anybody would be, right? If you saw something like that. Yeah, I think you'd follow him. And like, they see her, like they see the kid in the car, they see the car, they, you know, it all times out perfectly. There's no doubt that it is the kid. And then they go in. So the first act, you know, establishes all the characters. It establishes the kid being kidnapped. It establishes the Uber driver and the passenger. And they spot the kid. Second act, they start following. They're calling the cops. They're doing everything normal people would do in that situation. But, of course, the movie conspires to keep that, you know, that doesn't work for whatever reason. So they keep taking bigger and bigger chances, right? First he's following them. Then he gets spotted. Now he's taking bigger chances because the guy's driving, at some point, 100 miles an hour. Man, that's tough, man, when you're driving that fast. And he's cutting through red lights. Yeah. So now he's really endangering himself, the passenger, other people on the road. But I think a lot of people would take that chance. I think I would. You know, I would like to think I could keep up with my driving skills. I'm a pretty good driver. Then... You know, it's sort of a exciting chase for the second act. They're trying to get the cops, and for whatever reason, the signal drops out, and then they lose them, and they're trying to get them back, and the guy's driving and driving, and then eventually they track him to a house somehow, and then this starts the third act. They like decide they can't get a hold of the cops. It's in a real remote location. Or they do, but they're not quite sure where they are, and the cops are far away for some reason. And then they decide to go into the house. And then this is the third act. I mean, the third act is them in the house fighting the kidnapper or killer. I would think he's a killer. I think he already killed, you know, a bunch of kids. So then it's the two strangers trying to save this kid. And then I think they do, you know. I think they, you know, probably the dude gets injured, and there's all sorts of horrifying revelations because he's a crazed sicko. But in the end, they're heroes. The girl is saved. And so I think it's a happy ending overall. And I think it looks... Oh, it's Hayden Panettiere. The cheerleader. The cheerleader. I didn't recognize her. Okay. Didn't recognize her. Let's take a look at her again. She looks... I mean, she's older, obviously. But her face looks a little different. I guess that's her. Kind of hard to tell. Jeez, I can't find a still of her now. Isn't that always the way? There she is. Yeah, it's the hair that's throwing me, I think. Okay, now I kind of get it. All right, cool. Let's read the write-up. An ordinary rideshare becomes a high-stakes game of cat and mouse when Jack, Hayden Panettiere, is that how you say that, and Shane, Tyler James Williams, receive an alert of a child abduction on their phones. Quickly realizing they are behind the car that matches the description of the kidnappers, Jack and Shane desperately race against time to save the child's life. Yeah, that's a solid premise. This is a modern thing. Amber Alerts are a modern thing. Yeah, you know, the constant like cops not being able to catch up. That could get annoying. That's really the challenge in the modern day. Or that, you know, you call the cops and for whatever reason they don't believe you, or they say, "No, we found the car. We're chasing it down now," and the cops have the wrong car or something like that. Or they're getting too many calls. I mean, there's other ways you could do it. It's tough, though. I mean, that's the thing you always have to address, right, in a movie like this. You always have to address the technology and why it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work, why people ignore it. But I think this works as a tight thriller. You know, if you keep it short, if you keep the events in a tight timetable, like they're racing against time, and it's not happening over a week, it's happening over a day, maybe a day, few hours, 12 hours, something like that. And yeah, I think you could totally make this work. And Hayden looks fine. Hayden looks fine for this. She seems to be, I mean, the fact that she carried herself a little different. She didn't do the whole bubbly cheerleader thing, so I didn't really recognize her. I think that says something. I think that says something about her acting skills or my observational skills, however you want to take that. Anyhow, that's it for me. It's coming soon, by the way. I don't know when it's coming out. Probably a fall movie. That's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. I will be at the Bay Shore Center tomorrow in Bivalve, New Jersey. This is in Port Norris, or right next to Port Norris. I will be doing my talk on how to hunt the Jersey Devil at 6:30. This is the Bay Shore Center Museum, Maritime Museum, and it has its own oyster bar. So if you miss this, I don't know what to tell you. You're missing summer. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.